Okay, hold on. Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Jane.
Are you ready for our next one?
I am.
We've swapped sides, guys, because we're trying to figure out our best sides. And unfortunately, fortunately for you, you don't have a bad side. For me, I have a bad side.
I don't think she has a
I look
bad
like
side.
my brother, I've decided.
But I think her brother is absolutely adorable. My head was huge on that side for some reason, so I thought we should switch.
We switch. We're good.
So we switch. So you weigh in and let us know what you think. Should Jane be on this side and Nicole over there, or vice versa? Okay?
Yeah, well, you can tell we don't have a staff to help us with these things. We're on our own.
We're on
okay,
our
now
own.
we've already raced it a minute. Should we get going?
Yeah, let's get
Okay,
going.
Okay.
So the last time we were talking about women
Yes.
and gender and some of the ways that women sometimes show up
Mhm.
without showing the feminine side of their
Mhm.
leadership approaches, and how that might be damaging, not necessarily is, but how it might be damaging.
Mhm.
One of the things, or one of the ways that shows up, is that women don't always speak up and share a dissenting point of view
Mhm.
when the tribe is
Mhm.
going someplace else.
Mhm.
And so you have a unique perspective around, people not speaking up when the tribe is.
Yeah, and so this isn't as much women, I think, but I think what I'm interested in is how we show up in a group, because we do know that people will conform to the group. And if we know that if there's a certain percentage that are negative, it'll go that way. But if the percentages is tipped a little bit, it won't. People will shut up and listen. But I think what's interesting, I worked with a group the other day, and it was executive team, and it was just a delightful meeting. We were introducing some new things. Everyone seemed to be just fine with it.
And
you know.
delightful meetings. That's
Oh,
new.
delightful. They just, added questions and complimented, and just everything was great. So I left going, God, what a great group
It's
to work
spectacular.
with. Oh, maybe I'll get out of consulting and come work with this team. Well, then I find out they were texting each other through all of it. Furious, outraged on what? Nobody said anything to me about this. What does this mean? Who do you think is going to be in that position? So there was all this stuff going on in the background.
Wow.
And I think, certainly for executives to know that they might, sometimes we see what we want to see. We've had some conversations about that today. But, what I keep running into is, why don't people speak up?
Yeah.
And so whether it's human condition or part of the tribe.
Have you found out anything yet?
It feels like it's all over the place. And I feel like more times than not, people don't speak up. And I don't know whether it's they don't know how to phrase it, it's not safe, safe place to land. We've gotten in a really bad habit about talking to everyone about it and not talking
talking
meetings.
Talking more about people than we do to people.
And then the trust is eroded to the point
Yeah.
that, and that's the problem. A lot of times when I walk in, trust is so eroded.
Do you think shame has anything to do with it?
So just to define shame for me.
So I am so embarrassed to the point that I am concerned what other people are going to think about me, and so I don't say. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, I remember there's a lot of work being done on neuroscience, and they can actually now hook your brain up and just put you through everything. So what we find is being ostracized, not being accepted, has a neural response as strong as a physical blow to the head.
Oh, I can believe that.
So, in this case, rejection hurts. And I would say, we've sort of gone in a circle of groups and then individuals. If I'm a female, if we want to go back in that direction, and there's not a lot of me around the table, is there more of that fear? So, I'm not going to speak up. I don't want to be rejected or seen as whatever my insecurities might be. So I don't know, but I think we all have them.
Yeah, for sure.
We all have insecurities.
I've been doing some work with empathy and compassion in leadership, and kind of the reverse of that is kind of rooted and grounded in the way we even evaluate performance sometimes. So I'm going to evaluate you, and usually that evaluation is focused on what you're not doing well.
Right.
Many times we're also busy, we don't have time to look at what you are doing well. And then if I think that the evaluation is low over time, then I will start to exclude you. So that's kind of what you're talking about. And I will, when you do something and I don't think it's right, I'll go talk to other people about your mistakes. I kind of have something like that going on right now. I've not said something to a vendor I work with about some work that I thought was a critical component of her job. And I talked to you about it today instead of talking directly with her. So I always like to say, hey, this is the way that I get this thing wrong, so people know that I'm not like judging, just trying to show how it shows up. And I have it if I'm speaking up, but not to the person who matters.
Yeah, but here's another interesting study they did with rats. And so they gave students 2 sets of rats. You got smart rats, I've got the dumb rats. Same rats, just regular old lab rats, and the smart rats outperformed the others by like 50%.
Just because we thought they were smarter.
They were handled differently, they were managed differently, and we find with humans the same thing can happen too. If I've sort of had it with someone or I don't understand them and I don't get them, you don't have to say a thing. And nonverbal's not even as strong as you would think. It's you're standing a little further away, you know, certainly some of the eye contact and stuff. But I think it's people know. You don't have to say anything.
They're smarter than we think they are. You know, I saw a T-shirt one day. Somebody said, you know, I'm surrounded by idiots, and some of that we think is true, but it's like no, humans, especially once you get to be a certain age, you're old enough, you've experienced things enough. Have you ever just kind of walked in a room in a place where you knew you weren't accepted and you just kind of sense it? There's this new thought process that, oh, well, that's just the story you're making up in your brain. Some of the crucial conversation stuff is built on that. Be careful of your story that you tell, because your story then impacts the way you behave, which then impacts your outcomes. But some of that's real. Sometimes you do walk into a place and there is something, and you're saying that even rats who don't understand the English language, they're picking up on that.
Yeah. And again, in humans, they've done the study too. So how should we be showing up with all this complexity that we just talked about?
Yeah. What do we want people to do?
Yeah.
How do you fix that if you're the leader and you want people to speak up? One, I think you got to check your own motives. Do you really? Do you really? I'd be interested in knowing from the audience, what's your answer?
Because if they do speak up, what do you do with it? You know, you have to be able to manage a conversation. I think people have a responsibility to be able to speak up in a constructive way.
Yeah, and I will tell you what else, Jane, that I'll point out. You left that meeting going, oh, wow, that was fantastic. It feels great when people don't speak up.
It does. It was like I wanted to get marshmallows and a campfire and just spend the weekend with them. It was so fun, and it was like a physical blow to the head, like that study says. When I found out they were texting each other, it's because my first response is, "You chicken shits." I was just like, "What? Speak up! We can't accomplish things. We can't move things forward."
I tell people in my classes, I say, hey, listen, we got to be together all day long. So no sense in wasting 8 hours talking about something that's not really the issue.
Yeah. So I think my challenge would be, what are you not speaking up about and why? And so part of that certainly is fear, but what are the consequences to the group? Because these are leaders a lot of times that I'm talking to, and this is costing organizations thousands of dollars.
High-level leaders.
High-level
leaders.
Sometimes
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And so I think it's saying, I'm expected as a leader to bring forth issues and situations that we can work through. But I also have to check, what am I sort of holding on to? What am I fearful of that might be getting in the way of my certainly bias here, or seeing things for the way they are. But sometimes even in a group to say, gosh, I don't know, here's how I'm feeling about this. I know this is the right direction, but I'm really scared about this.
I've got a strategy that a woman named Mary Beth Ebmeyer told me.
Yeah.
She said, this is what I don't want you to think. And she would start with her fear.
I love that.
What she's afraid the person would think.
I love that.
And then this is what I do want you to think.
There you go.
Try that and see what happens.
I love that.
Thanks, Mary Beth. Appreciate you.
Bye, Mary Beth. Thanks.